Now I will talk about the coordination compounds. What are the topics which are left? We have studied Berners theory, we have studied valence bond theory, we have studied crystal field theory. You have all understood. Okay, and then now we have to understand that this crystal field theory, can it explain why the coordination complexes are colored? Yes, sir, it can explain. Sir, how? You know that whenever an octahedral complex is formed, whenever an octahedral complex is formed, what happens? The 5d orbitals, they get split into two sets. Yes, sir. And what happens when a tetrahedral complex is formed? The again the d orbitals, they get split into two sets, two sets of orbitals. Now see, if an electron is present in the lower set, whether it is octahedral, whether it is tetrahedral, if the lower electrons are present, electron is present in the lower set, whatever it may be, P2G or EG, it is the lower set, the electron is present on the in that lower set. Now see, white light is falling on the coordination compound, and these electrons are very naughty, like you. So the electron which is present in the lower orbital, it will gain some energy from the visible light. It doesn't require more energy for jumping from T2G to EG, or from EG orbital to T2G. It doesn't require much more energy. Whatever energy is required, that is available in the visible light itself. Okay, so visible light is falling. It is consisting of 7 colors. So some frequency of light is absorbed by the electron, and the electron, after absorbing this energy, jumps to the higher orbital, maybe T2G to EG, or EG set to T2G, whatever is the case, whether it is octahedral or tetrahedral complex. Okay, so out of white light which was falling on the coordination compound, some frequencies have been used by the electron. So what light will get reflected back? Sir, the light which will get reflected back, we call it as complementary light. So when the some light is absorbed and the remaining frequencies of light are reflected back, the color will not be white. It will have some color. So it depends on what type of light frequency has been used by the electron. So when white light falls on the coordination compound, some frequency of light from visible light is absorbed. Okay, the remaining light will get reflected. So the color of the coordination compound will be that of the complementary color. I think you have understood. So this is what I have discussed. Now another point, look at a compound. This is titanium complex, and there are 6 legions: water, aqua, and this is titanium chloride. Okay, it is hexa aqua titanium chloride. Okay, hexa aqua titanium, in Roman numerals 3, chloride. It is colored. This compound is colored. Why it is colored? Because in this case, the d orbitals of titanium metal ion, they have been split into two sets. Why? Because of presence of legions, water as legions. Okay. Now, if we heat this substance, and if we remove all these legions by heating, okay, we get titanium chloride. Now there are no legions. When there are no legions, the d orbitals, the 5d orbitals, they will not split into the two sets. So there will not be any electron requiring energy. So what will happen? Titanium chloride will be colorless. Okay, because there is no splitting of orbitals. So crystal, according to crystal field theory, if there is a splitting of orbital, then only the color may develop. Okay. Now similarly, if you consider the example of copper sulfate, anhydrous copper sulfate is white in color, but copper sulfate with 5 water molecules, it is blue in color. Students, in your class, Deepak sir is sitting, so he might be watching how many students are there. Okay, so be attentive and listen to it carefully. So what I have explained you, why the coordination compounds are colored. Okay, according to crystal field theory, the crystal field theory attributes the color of the coordination compounds to DD transition. That means from T to G orbital to EG orbital, or from EG orbital to T to G orbital, as the case may be. So if there is no splitting of d orbitals, the compound will not be colored. We have seen these two examples, and I am sure you have understood it. So crystal field theory is able to explain why coordination compounds are colored. They are colored because of splitting of d orbitals, colored because of absorption of some energy from the visible light. Now let us see what are the limitations of crystal field theory. Okay, there are two limitations of crystal field theory. Now in crystal field theory, we are assuming that legions as point charges. Now let us think about an ion. What is think about an anion? The anions, they are occupying a lot of space. They are not a point. So in case of anions, the effect should be more. In crystal field theory, legions are assumed to be point charges. On this ground, anionic legions must exert greater splitting effect because they are larger in size, point charges only. So that means anionic legions, they should be strong field legions. They should cause stronger splitting. Okay, but if we look at the spectrochemical series, have all of you learned this spectrochemical series? The spectrochemical series which you have studied earlier, it should be on your lips. The electronic configuration of 3D elements should be on your lips. Okay, if you don't do it, you will not get any marks in chemistry. You have to be very smart, and you have to keep these things, you have to learn these things by heart. Okay, so if we look at the spectrochemical series, we see carbonyl, it is strong field legion. It is present on the higher end, and on the lower end are present anions like iodide, bromide, and fluoride. They are present on the lower end. So this is the limitation. And the second limitation is, in crystal field theory, we assume that the bond between metal and legend, they are purely ionic. So it gives no consideration to the covalent nature of these metal legend bonds. So these are the two limitations. Okay, this finishes your crystal field theory and others. Now look at metal carbonyls. So what is important in metal carbonyls? This structure. So look, on the right hand side in blue ink, I have drawn carbonyl legend. Which legend? Carbonyl. What is carbonyl legend? CO. Now look, carbon and oxygen atom, it has got a triple bond in between these two atoms. There is a triple bond between carbon atom and oxygen atom. Then you see the carbon atom of this carbonyl group, it has got an orbital which has got lone pair present in the middle. I've written lone pair, and then there is a vacant orbital. Now you know, in this carbonyl group, we write vacant orbital is pi star vacant orbital. That means it's a vacant anti-bonding orbital. Okay, so what I have told you, the structure of carbonyl, carbon and oxygen, they are joined by a triple bond, and the carbon atom is having a lone pair in one of the orbital, and one orbital which I have shaded, it is a vacant anti-bonding orbital of carbon atom of carbonyl legend. Carbonyl legend, a carbon atom के अंदर, this is vacant anti-bonding orbital. Now when this carbonyl atom, it forms a coordinate covalent bond with metal atom. In the brown color I have written metal atom, and then there is a vacant orbital in the middle. There is a vacant orbital of metal atom, transition metal atom. Now this carbonyl group, it donates its electron pair, which are represented by a blue line, to the empty orbital of metal atom, right? So coordinate covalent bond is formed. And look at the metal atom, it has got two lobes. one lobe is above and one lobe is at the is below this vacant orbital. It is a filled d orbital. It's a filled d orbital of metal atom. One lobe is up above and one lobe is at bottom. So it is a filled d orbital. So filled d orbital has got electron pair. So when this bonding occurs, right? This filled the electrons of this filled d orbital, they also get donated to the empty anti-bonding orbital of carbon atom. It is shown by brown line. Now it's a pi bond. What type of bond is? It's a pi bond. The brown line, it indicates a pi bond. How it is formed? It is formed when a electron pair from the filled d orbital of metal atom, it is being shared by the empty vacant anti-bonding orbital. Okay. So what happens? Instead of one bond, there are two bonds. So this formation of this type of pi bond, in addition to the sigma bond, right, it gives a synergic effect. It strengthening effect. So that is why this bonding is bonding. Okay. So if somebody asks you what are metal carbonyls, sir, metal carbonyls are organometallic compounds. So why organometallic compounds? It is consisting of a metal atom or metal ion and then organic ligands. So it is a organometallic compound. Sir, how they are formed? Sir, in this, the transition metal atom, it gets bonded to various carbonyl ligands. So what are carbonyl ligands? Carbon monoxide ligands. So the organometallic compounds of transition metal atoms with carbonyl ligands are called metal carbonyls. Now two students have left. Okay. So we are noting down the names. Now, here I am giving you some examples of metal carbonyls. Now, see, the first example is of tetracarbonyl nickel. You have already studied it in Mond's process, right? Nickel, it is attached to 4 carbonyl ligands. And then pentacarbonyl iron. Okay, iron atom, it is linked to 5 carbonyl groups. It's very easy. If you look at it carefully, it's very easy. And then hexacarbonyl chromium. In all these, the oxidation state of nickel, iron, or chromium is 0. It is written in brackets 0. And then this is a metal carbonyl, which there are two metal atoms of manganese, right? And manganese atom, they are also joined. So it is decacarbonyl because there are 10 carbonyls. Decacarbonyl dimanganese complex. Okay, here also the oxidation state of metals, that is manganese metal, is 0. Okay, so this was all about metal carbonyls, this structure, and what is synergic bonding. You are supposed to learn very clearly how the metal and carbon sigma bond is formed and how the metal and carbon pi bond is formed. Okay, and you have to tell that when a sigma bond is formed, then there occurs a formation of another pi bond. Okay, I have already explained you. So this is called synergic effect. Now we have to understand uh, about the stability of coordination compounds. Now look at a reaction, one metal atom and 4 ligands, they are combining and they are forming Ml4. Ml4 is a product. Now how we can say the product is stable or product is unstable? If the quantity, if the concentration of this product is more and the concentrations of metal atom and ligands is less, we will say the product is stable. But if in this reaction the concentration of Ml4, that is the product, you simply consider it as a product, don't get worried. If its concentration is less, complex is getting formed, but it is dissociating back. Okay, so it is not stable, it is unstable. So what we are talking, when we are talking about the stability of a complex, what happens? What we talk? If the equilibrium constant is more, the complex will be more stable. So what is equilibrium constant? Equilibrium constant is concentration of the product, that is Ml4. Here I have used the symbol beta 4. Okay. Instead of K equilibrium constant, I have used beta 4 because it represents the overall stability constant. It is same. It is same as that of equilibrium constant. Now, if I have to write equilibrium constant for this reaction, above I will write the concentration of the product. I'm writing Ml4 in square bracket, and below I'm writing metal in square bracket and L in square bracket. Now there is 4 is a stoichiometric coefficient, so I will raise the power of L to 4. So for the reaction M plus 4L, Ml4, I will write the equilibrium constant in this way. Ml4 concentration divided by concentration of metal divided by concentration of reagent. This is the general way of representing an equilibrium constant. The same is the way for representing the stability of the coordination complex. If the value of Ml4 will be more, the value of beta 4 will be more. If the value of concentration of Ml4 will be less, it means it is not stable, then the value of equilibrium constant or beta 4 will be less. So let us read now. Consider a complex Ml4. How can we measure whether it is stable or not? We can judge it from magnitude of its stabilization or formation, that is equilibrium constant. Okay, how much it is dissociated and how much it is associated, that tells us, that is a measure of the stability of that complex. So in this reaction, beta 4 is representing the overall stability of this. Now let us see that this reaction, this is the overall reaction, and it is taking part in small steps. So let us divide it into 4 steps. The first step is metal atom plus 1 reagent. So what will be the product? Ml1. And then Ml1, the product plus another reagent, it will form Ml2. Then Ml2 plus one more reagent, it will form Ml3. Ml3 plus one more reagent, we have to add 4 reagents in 4 steps, we will get Ml4. So these are the 4 steps by which the reaction which we have talked about is taking place. So we can write the individual equilibrium constants. Okay, individual stability constants. Same way, on the right hand side, I have written K1, it is equal to concentration of Ml1 divided by concentration of metal and divided by concentration of L. So we can represent it in a single line also. I have written in the middle, K1 is equal to concentration of Ml1 oblique, that means divided by concentration of M and concentration of L. In the same way, we can write the equilibrium constants K1, K2, K3, and K4 for the reactions. Okay. Now we know if a reaction is taking place in small steps, and what will be the overall value of its equilibrium constant. Sir, if we multiply all the individual equilibrium constants, so beta 4, that means stability constant of overall reaction of the net reaction, this will also be equal to K1 multiplied by K2 multiplied by K3 multiplied by K4, and if there are more steps, okay, so on. Thus, the stability of a complex in solution refers to the degree of association between the two species involved in the state of equilibrium. Okay. Now, another definition is being asked to the students to trouble them. What is instability constant? The reciprocal of stability constant. If somebody asks me, what is the instability reaction beta 4? What is the instability constant? I will say instability constant is equal to 1 by beta 4. That means instability constant of a coordination complex is defined as the reciprocal of the formation constant. I think it is clear. Now, very important thing from the entrance point of view. It's not may not be in your NCERT book. So please see on what factors depends the stability of a coordination complex? Sir, it depends on these five factors. What are those five factors? First factor is charge on the first factor is charge on the central metal ion. Now in coordination complex, think about coordination complex of platinum and platinum. In some of the complexes, it is platinum 2 plus, oxidation state is plus 2. In another, it is plus 4. So which one will be more stable? Where the oxidation state of cation is more. Greater the charge on the metal atom or ion, greater will be the stability. Okay. So one factor is uh, stability of a complex depends on charge on the central metal ion. And the second factor is the stability of the coordination complex. It also depends on the nature of the metal ion. Okay. Now see, if the metal atom or ion belongs to group 3 or group 6 or any inner transition element, then it forms stable coordination complexes with those ligands whose donor atoms are nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine. Okay. Now the second thing which you have to learn, the details are also there, but you have to learn this much because I am giving you extra. The second point is metal atoms of transition elements after group 6. These elements, they will form stable complex only when the ligands, they have got donor atoms which lie below nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine. That means the ligands contain donor atoms of heavier donor atoms. Again, I'm repeating, which group 3, group 6, or inner transition elements, if we are talking about these, which type of coordination compounds will be stable? Sir, those coordination compounds will be stable in which the donor atoms, they have got nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine atoms. Okay. In case of elements, metals, after group 6 of transition elements, what type of compounds will be stable? Sir, if the donor atoms are larger than nitrogen, if the donor atom is larger than oxygen, larger than fluorine, and are lying below. Okay. Then the second point is the basic nature of ligands. Greater the basic nature of the ligand, some ligands may be more basic, some ligands may be less basic. Greater the basic strength of the ligand, greater will be the stability. Then next is presence of chelate rings. Now if in a metal atom, 5-membered or 6-membered ring-like structures are formed, we call this as chelates. Chelating ligands, they get bonded, 5 or 6-membered rings are formed. If this happens, then it gives stability to the coordination compound. That means presence of chelate rings, it gives stability to the coordination complex. So more the number of chelating rings, more will be the stability. Now, effect of multidentate cyclic ligands. There are certain ligands whose denticity is more than 2. They attach to the metal atom to more donor atoms. So if it is the case, then the stability will also increase. Now why? There are two concepts. One is the concept of entropy that you can study of your own if you are interested in deeper study. But you can simply say that in didentate and multidentate ligands, there are more than one coordinate covalent bonds, and it requires more energy to break them. Okay, so the stability is there in case of didentate or multidentate ligands. Simple answer. Then the last topic, another 3 or 4 minutes, it is application of coordination compounds. See, in our daily life, we are using coordination compounds here, and that's why we are studying it. Okay, so you have to understand the questions come from there. I've simply given hints. You can study it's only some 1/4 or 1/3 of the page. You can study in detail from NCERT, learn the examples. Now, these coordination compounds, they are very helpful in various quantitative and qualitative analysis. If you will go to your BSc or MSc, you will see there are certain titrations using EDTA. So these titrations involve coordination complexes. So coordination compounds are used in qualitative as well as quantitative analysis. Then, if we have got water and it is hard, why water is hard? Sir, either the calcium cations or magnesium cations may be present in that water. Now, how do we estimate it? We estimate this again by titrating with EDTA. So, we use coordination complexes for finding out the hardness of water. Clear? Then you have studied that in extraction of metals, please recollect, if silver is present or gold is present, what do? We make a complex, soluble complex of gold or soluble complex of silver, okay, by using silver cyanide in presence of oxygen, okay. So there also we are making use of coordination complexes. So in extraction of some metals like gold and silver, we are making use of coordination compounds. We are converting them into soluble complexes. Can you recollect? Okay. Please read. We are going to send you some work, written work. You can do it only if you have studied, and we'll catch you if you have not studied. We'll talk to the parents. So please study, please revise it. Then in purification of metals, you've already studied Mond's process. So what is there in Mond's process? If we treat impure nickel with the carbon monoxide, then it forms tetracarbonyl nickel, which is present in the gaseous state, and then we heat it and we decompose it again to metal, pure metal. Similarly, titanium and zirconium we have studied in Van Arkel process. So in purification of metals also we are making use of this. Then we are always talking about chlorophyll. Do you know chlorophyll is a coordination compound of it is containing magnesium atom, and then hemoglobin. It is also a coordination compound, and the metal atom which is involved is iron. So in biological system also we are doing it. Then there are certain processes. Supposing there are certain processes where we use coordination compounds as catalysts. Okay. Then, for example, if we have to do hydrogenation of alkene, supposing if we have got alkene and we have to convert it into alkane, so we will make use of certain coordination compounds as catalysts. And then, seventh point, supposing if we have got some metal atom and we want silver or gold to get on this. So what we do it by electrolytic process, and we use a silver salt solution or gold salt solution. But if we use a solution of their complex, the electroplating, the deposition of that layer of silver or gold will be very smooth and uniform thickness. Okay, so in electroplating of silver or gold, etc., if we use the solutions of their coordination complexes, we get a better result. Now, earlier, some 50 years early, the color pictures were not there. They were black and white pictures. So when the picture is taken in a camera, some of the silver oxide, silver salt, silver chloride or bromide, which is pasted on that sheet of plastic, that gets exposed to the light and gets decomposed. The remaining silver bromide or silver salt remains as such. So to remove that, we used to use a solution called hyposolution. It is called developing. Okay, there also we were making use of coordination complexes. And the last one, supposing if some copper or some iron or some other heavy metal is there in the body of a patient and it is not coming out by medicines, then what we have to do? We have to make use of chelation. So we'll ask the patient to consume something which will form chelates with these metals. and these metals will get removed. That means we are making use of chelates, that is coordination complexes, in the field of medicine also. This finishes your coordination compounds, and I have given you pre-work. Please do it. Right? Thank you very much. Good morning, Anish. Good morning, Karuna. Sir, may I get all the lectures given by you on Zoom classes? Okay, and then Deepika. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Deepika. Akansha, good morning, sir. Good morning to you. Urmila, good afternoon, sir. Karuna, Urmila, thank you, sir. Thank you. Manu, thank you, sir. Archita, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Rohit, good afternoon. Akshita, good afternoon. Virinder Singh, thank you, sir. Anish Goel, have a nice day. You also have a nice day, and I wish all of you should excel in chemistry, and I guarantee you, you will excel in chemistry. You may not, you may be finding it difficult. I will make it easier for you. Okay? Okay, bye. Thank you very much.